Welcome to Voices of Care, real stories to inspire, uplift, and unite caregivers, with Maggie Linton and Carl Powell. Enjoy the conversation.
I'm so glad to be able to talk with Belia Paul, a person who fills a lot of spaces for a number of people. And we're just going to talk a little bit about what you do, what got you into this movement. When did you realize what you were doing was so necessary?
Ooh, that is such a loaded question.
I know, but we got
Uh,
time. That's just it. That's what's
okay.
wonderful about the spaces. Let's
Yes.
just talk. Yeah.
Yes. So I am the founder of a whole new space here on Maui. I support individuals, kupuna, so seniors, and caregivers with organizing, paperwork, and planning, pretty much. Um, I have gone through the caregiving personally myself with my in-laws, with my disabled brother-in-law, who was my husband's twin, and my mother-in-law had Lewy body dementia, and my father has also just recently been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, although he has been suffering from general anxiety and mild cognitive impairment for quite a few years, but we have the official diagnosis now. I started a Hono space to help people get organized when my grandmother passed away. And my family, I have 6 aunts and uncles. My mom is one of 7, and they all do not get along with each other. When my
Oh,
grandmother passed away, she had, her home that my grandfather built for her 40 years prior, that needed to be, disassembled and broken down. And there was a lot of family issues happening when she passed away. I'm the niece that everybody loves, so I was able to come in and kind of delegate and take over the process, assigning tasks, keeping people separate, etc. And when all of that was happening, I was thinking, what do other families do? Because we cannot be the only ones that have this issue.
hmm.
And that's kind of what got me involved in organizing people and then planning ahead and figuring out, what is the step when this does happen to your family.
Yeah, if you find families, they're either one way or the other, and there's a few in between. And it seems like the larger the family, almost the more conflicts that they have. And
Definitely.
I find families who don't even haven't spoken to each other in years. It's like from something that happened 20 or 30 years ago. It's
Right.
like let it go. If it didn't happen
Yes.
and you can't change it, what do you do with conflicts like that?
Yes, it's tough. And we tend to move away from home nowadays. And so a lot of the clients that I work with now are people that have retired out here to Maui, and their families do not want to come here now. They're needing care. Their families are not wanting to move out here, and they definitely are not wanting to move back to the mainland.
Right.
So as everybody starts separating and moving away, that makes our connection within our own family harder, which then those relationships they're just not building like how they used to. You'll hear when my grandma passed, the family fell apart, or when my mother passed, the family fell apart. They're the ones that tended to keep it all together.
If someone is experiencing something like that, where do they start? With a call to you?
Hopefully, with a call to me, I'm a huge resource. I work with many, many nonprofit agencies here on Maui. I have my hands in all anything that's regarding kupuna or seniors, as well as people with disabilities. So, when you get that diagnosis, it's very scary, and most people do not have experience or know where to start. So, even if I can help one family with getting them on the right path, um, that's very important to me, very rewarding. I lost you.
My
There you go.
phone, my other phone started ringing. When did you realize that you had this gift to bring people together? Because that's what I consider it, a gift.
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think that I come from a long line of caregivers. So it always has been around me as a child. I would say my grandmother always had an elderly person living in the home with us. So she was a caretaker for these usually wealthy older women that somehow would end up at my grandma's house. And this lady, uh, whatever lady she was, would, be wheeled to the dining room table and, be in the chaos of our family, which made them live really long. They would be around till their late 90s. And, just so I saw that with my grandparents, both of them very, very giving people coming from caretaking. Probably if my 20s and 30s, that was like the least thing that I would ever want to do, and never thought that I would ever be in the position that I'm in now. Selfishly not wanting to go that route because I saw what it did to her. But then when I met my husband, his brother, it was disabled, and I saw the calmest family that I had ever come across in my life. The most patient people on the planet. And that was very heartwarming to me.
Yeah. It opened your eyes to a better way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, when you talk about helping people get rid of stuff,
Mm.
what would you say to the average person is start while you're still able to get rid of it before it gets crazy, and then you're saying, what am I going to do with this stuff
People always say, when should we start? Yesterday.
now? Oh,
No,
okay, yesterday.
yesterday. Organizing is for people in their 20s, their 30s, their 40s, their 80s, their 90s. Developing better habits in everything in your life is going to help you not accumulate so much clutter. If we really stop and think about whether that's something that we need to be purchasing and bringing into our home, what is it going to serve? Is this a temporary kind of excitement that you're getting from buying it, or is this something that you actually really need in your home? People say, I don't have enough space. I need you to come over because my closets are small. I don't have enough space. You have too much stuff, period. You just really have things that you think that you need, but realistically, you do not need them. So getting organized, purging is kind of a 3-step process. So even if I do go into your home and help you purge out that garage, the closet, the pantry, all, the spaces in your home, we need to do that 2 more times before we're actually going to get to a place that is realistic for our brains to manage these items.
What's even more so, I think about how parents seem to think that their kids want their stuff, and realizing that they really need to talk to their kids ahead of time and say, do you want this stuff? Because if their kids say no, then that's another reason for them to purge, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. But they're still going to hold on to it because maybe their kids are going to change their mind, and they're going to want it. Why wouldn't they want it? Why wouldn't they want the quilt that their grandmother made? Why wouldn't they want the photo album from, the lineage that someone traced and found all these pictures and we're the descendants of the so-and-so? Our items are extremely personable to us. We see value in things that others do not see value in because there's a sentimental connection to these items that we have, that we live with in our home. What is very important to me, my sister might say, why do you have this? Throw this out, and that is very common with families. My mom has a bunch of junk. Well, those things mean something to her for some reason, and that is why she's holding on to them. There's a sentimental attachment to these items that sadly that person only is the one that knows that story and has that feeling about them. So I highly encourage families that do get along with each other to do the purging as soon as you can. It's usually the first fall, the first infection, the first trip to the hospital, where people start getting involved, your other family starts getting involved, and then they come in and they're like, whoa, there's a lot of clutter in here. That is when action starts. But if we could do that before before the accident happens, then you have a better path. So when that situation arises, it's not emergency mode. I get called for emergencies most of the time.
When I just listening to you talk, there's a calm. And that's what I got a feeling when a family calls you, they're frantic, and you walk in and you become the calm to try and tap that storm down.
Yes, definitely. I have zero judgment. These things don't mean anything to me. I have no emotional attachment to them, but I know that it is important to them. I do not throw anything away, not even that little bag that the extra button comes in, that's in the back of the shirt when you buy it, because that's their stuff. I get calls from a lot of children, adult children, that say, my mother needs you. Okay. How does your mother feel about that?
Yeah.
Does your mother want me? So your mom is not at a place where she's ready to downsize and purge her items, then I really cannot help you.
So tell us about your space, ahonaspace.com, and how people can go there, what kind of information is delivered on there.
I have a website, ahonaspace.com, that highlights my 3 services. I do 3 things. I do professional organizing. I have a kupuna concierge business, which is a senior concierge business, not as a membership. I don't know what am I saying? You pay a membership, you get so many hours of service. And then I have something called the Final Affairs File. And the Final Affairs File is a waterproof box that puts all of your documents in order for your end of life. So when you pass away, that box has everything that your family or loved one or executor needs in order to close down your estate. That idea came about from, my grandmother passing away and other folks that I work with, that I see the paperwork is in disarray. We're looking for this, we're looking for that. We need the pink slip to the car. All these things that are needed, and nobody knows where any of that stuff is. And it's very hard to navigate paperwork for people that are, I would say, 75 and over. They like paper. Where that era, the generation are used to having the bank statements, the bill that comes in the mail. So they have a lot of paper, and it gets all buried in with each other. So my website highlights those 3 services of what I can do for you. And then I am on social media, of course, Facebook and Instagram under Ahonu Space.
All right. When you mentioned about the paperwork, it's people think that a will is going to take care of everything, but it really does not. And let's talk a little bit about that. My husband and I just recently set up a trust.
Oh, good.
I'm telling you, the things we learned. I said, let's go to an information session. He says, well, we got a will. And I said, we don't know what we don't know. And that's truly the truth, isn't it?
Very good. Yes, I'm glad that you guys did that and you got a little bit more educated on how it works. So I have had a client hire me to shut down the house after their home, the father's home had to go through probate because there was nothing, and it took 18 months and a lot of money. And when they were finally able to go in, we found the will in a cabinet. Great to have it, but if nobody knows you have it, that's, it's going to save people a lot of, so, people say, oh, well, we have the will. Does somebody know where it is? Does somebody know where the keys are to the safety deposit box, the passwords to shut down your automatic bill pays that you have going out? I currently have, where I live, a gentleman that passed away. It will be a year in January. His condo is still sitting there exactly as it was the day that he passed away. He has no family. He had there was absolutely no contact people for this gentleman at all. And he had a car that one day just disappeared. I think it was stolen. And there's like, I can't get any information. I have no idea if he has his mortgage on his auto pay and say he had a lot of money in his bank account. He's just paying until, I guess, the home, goes into foreclosure. Like, what happens if you don't have your paperwork lined up?
Yeah. That's one of those things I realized. My thank God my parents had a will, living will, the health one, things, and I was on everything. So that
Advanced healthcare director.
made it a little bit, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and creating power of attorneys. You could designate financial for one child. If you have more than one child, somebody can be in charge of finances, someone can be in charge of healthcare. If you don't have one person do it, whatever. But having your wishes in order and known is super important. It is the biggest gift that someone could give to their loved ones.
Exactly. And that's what we've discovered. My daughter went through that with her stepdad and mom, and the house right now has been in probate for over 8 months. Supposedly it's supposed to come together in December. But, our son is living there and he can't touch a thing. And there's like 4 or 5 cars and 9 motorcycles and all kinds of stuff. And it's just sitting there. And the good thing is the house is paid for. So
that will be nice.
yeah. That's one of the things that's good. Some other things, Belia. Once again, we're talking with Belia Paul, and she's with ahonaspace.com. She's here to give you some good information. And, you said that the time to start decluttering is yesterday, but even more so than that, when you begin to see a parent or someone that you love begin to deteriorate, those are the times also to reach out for help. Am I correct?
Absolutely. First thing that I ask folks when they call me, they say, "Oh, my mom is starting to do this, starting to do that." Forgetting is obviously not one of the number one things. My mom needs a little help. Tell me about this Kupuna concierge business. Okay, so I'm going to come into your home. I'm going to touch your mom for a couple of hours every single week. And then I'm going to report back to you, what our interaction was, how it was. Maybe I'm going to, set her up for auto pay on her computer. I'm going to make the font bigger on her phone. I'm going to change a couple of light bulbs in the kitchen. We're going to add some lighting in her hallways. Do an assessment, come in, take a look. Again, by the time I'm called, we should have been doing things sooner already. So when I come in, there's immediate lists of things that I see that need to be fixed, moved, repaired, thrown away, cleaned. So more interaction with our elderly loved ones is super important. And the number one things I hear, I don't want to bother my daughter. My son has his own family. I don't have anybody here. My daughter works 2 jobs. I don't want to be a burden. No, nobody wants to be a burden, so they are not sharing with their loved one what's happening. That when they went to the doctor, they actually forgot what the doctor said. When they got home, they actually didn't go to the grocery store. It was on the list, but they just drove themselves straight home from the post office. So they are telling us these little things here and there. but we're so busy. And I think that our parents are everything, right? They're on this, they're on a pedestal for us. They are everything to us, our parents. So when your parent tells you I'm good, then we just are like, oh, they're good. The more interaction that we can have and actually listen and see what's happening will give you a good jump start on what is actually happening in the home.
Right. Well, we always think of our parents as being strong no matter
Yes.
what. And so then when
Yes.
things start happening, especially if you're not there every day. I mean, I literally, I talk to my parents every day, and I could tell, they were in a different state initially. Eventually they moved to where I am, but I'd go back home and I'd do what is called the Band-Aid, what I call the Band-Aid fix, get
Yes.
Meals on Wheels coming in,
Yes.
check with the neighbors, that kind of stuff. And 2 weeks later, they've canceled Meals on Wheels because they didn't like the food. I'm just like,
Yes.
that kind of
Yes.
stuff. And the neighbors are still checking on them and things like that, but not as regularly as I needed. And that's when I decided it was time for them to move there because
Yes.
parents can also sabotage their care if you're not careful.
Yep. Yep. Oh, that is so uh I haven't quite figured out exactly what part of this story I'm going to be writing for this book.
Yeah.
However, that is kind of what I'm leaning towards. And my in-laws moved to another state, and that they moved at the worst time that they could have ever left us. And that's what my husband did. The every 5 months going and just redoing everything and getting it all set up again, and then within a month it's all gone and done.
Everything.
Everything's unraveled and they're back to square one, and you're going back
Yeah.
5 months later and you're doing all of it over again. Yes, exactly. The Band-Aid trip. That is so common.
Well, Belia, listen, thank you so much for talking with us. I don't want to tell too much more, but you have given us a wealth of information. And so once again, tell us about your website, how people get in touch with you. And if folks are looking at you right now, they know that you are a voice of calm.
Thank you. I can be reached at www.ahonewspace.com. I am also on Facebook, ahonewspace.com, as well as Instagram. My phone number is 808-357-4598. I'm always available via text, and I answer my phone whenever I'm not helping somebody get organized.
All right. Sounds great. Well, I send you God's blessings and for continued success, because you are someone that is needed.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good talking with you.
Aloha, Maggie. I can be reached at www.ahonewspace.com. I am also on Facebook, ahonewspace.com, as well as Instagram. My phone number is 808-357-4598. I'm always available via text, and I answer my phone whenever I'm not helping somebody get organized.